Oh, wow. Look at this set dressing. Look at these for you. In fact, I'd quite like to sit on one, but I won't. There we go. Thank you so much. Welcome. I will let you welcome your children in case I name them all wrongly. So, the Ibbotsons, of course, just to say, they lived for half a year in the world's first labelled or certified active house called the Centennial Park Residence. So, who have we got with us, apart from Mother Ibbotson and Father Ibbotson? That sounds ridiculous. Mr. and Mrs. Ibbotson. Who have we got with us, please? Sorry for doing a bad job there. Thank you. You need one as well, don't you? There you go. You can have one each. So, who do we have of your family?
Okay, we've got...
You have to hold it right here.
Right here, okay. We've got 3 out of 4 here right now. We've got Eleanor, who's our second oldest, and Poppy, and our little guy, Henry.
Okay. So Henry, I'm allowed to say this word, was conceived in the house. So in theory, these others were in the house. So in theory, Henry will grow up to be the healthiest person,
child, yeah.
A super child, I think is what we could say. And as I understand it, Eleanor? Is that you? I think, I'm going to get down here, otherwise I look like the looming lady, like this. Was it you who said it's like living outside? How was it living in the house? How did it feel when you were in the house? A bit shy. Shall I not ask you?
Good was
I
the
think
answer.
I'm going to start with your mummy and daddy. Okay. But I will attribute that, because that was Eleanor's quote. It's like living outside. So just to say, Bethany is an ecologist. So this is kind of all her thing, specialising in habitat restoration and community. There's that word again, community stewardship. So I think it's engaging urban neighbourhoods in sort of more environmentally sound practices. And turning to your husband, Russell, he is actually a technical manager for VELUX Canada, but he's worked with lots and lots of manufacturers across the years, I think for about 17 years in industry. I love this. This is brilliant. He discovered a love of windows 10 years ago. I love that. A love of windows. He discovered the windows before. He just loved them. So I might define you as an engineer with a love of sales as well. So they didn't just live in this house. You blogged about your experiences on the home's many energy-efficient features and described a lot how indoor climates affect us all, both physically and, crucially, mentally. So maybe just give us the top lines on what that place was all about for those who are clueless. Thank you.
So we lived in an active house, and this active house had a bunch of stuff for indoor climate, daylight and fresh air, mechanical and natural ventilation, and a lot of great design and a lot of good understanding of the materials and the environmentalism selection of the materials and the construction process. There was a lot of intelligence and thought that went into this. And so we lived in this special house in Canada for 6 months, as was mentioned. And we blogged and did a bunch of things to try to share the experience.
Okay. And tell me, because I think that's an important question to ask, that sort of, what were you hoping to get out of it? What did you hope to get out of that experience when you went in? What did you think?
For me, it was just so opposite of everything that we'd experienced so far. We live in very historical homes. And so this was the complete opposite. It had like giant windows, it was bright, it was modern, it was architecturally designed. So I'd seen the house in Thorold, another active house in Ontario, and I was intrigued. I just loved the idea of it. So I thought, why not move 3 kids to a different city and live in a house?
Just to take an informal poll, who else would think, why not move 3 kids to a house? Who would do that?
For 6 months.
For 6 months. Who would do that?
I would.
Okay, so you are clearly pioneers and very brave.
And now we're considering maybe coming to France because the schools sound great.
Yeah, the schools sound great.
The healthy schools. So
if you want us to
You're
test
funny.
out your schools, just let us know. We're perfectly happy.
So tell me, for you, we heard a lot of words this morning, you know, the impact, the allergies, we heard humidity, moisture, what happens with lack of sleep, lack of light, ventilation, the impact on concentration. What did you think were some of the key features and perhaps that you saw benefited your kids in that healthy living environment?
I think it's very hard to quantify, obviously, because they're so young. They can't really say, like, the space is so nice for homework and stuff like that. But I did find it was very relaxing for me as the parent, because they did have a lot of places to play. Like, everywhere was well lit. It's not like living in our Victorian house back home where, you know, you have those dark nooks and crannies that they didn't think about in the 1800s. So this was a space that everywhere was usable. Every nook and cranny of that house was somewhere that they could play. Even the small spaces became, you know, like their little secret hidey holes. And then the big places they could spread out and just use it as they saw. And it was very open plan, so I was able to just see them whenever they were playing.
Even in their nooks and crannies?
Even in their nooks and crannies.
Okay, good luck interpreting that one, ladies and gentlemen. I love that, nooks and crannies. That's interesting, because I think it reflects a little bit what Vincent, who I see over there, was talking about, the sort of the different ways of playing with and using a house. I think one of the examples que tu as donné was exactly that, sort of the way you move around that house and the way you have a relationship with the space. And what about for you? What was your sort of...
I wanted to validate all my computer models about healthy homes. That was my expectation going in. I've been working on this for a number of years, in daylight and indoor air quality, and I wanted to measure it all. And I wanted to figure out how to communicate it and try to work with the kids and do little experiments to share that. How does it work for normal people, not just on the computer model?
Yeah. Okay. And anything particular that oh, look at him with the two mics. He's going there. I love that. Do you want me to take one? And then I can hand... You have.
Okay.
You are a good double act. And there's only 3 here of the 4. So just to say, chapeau to you. Anything particular that really sort of struck you that perhaps you hadn't expected?
I know that the indoor air quality comes up as a strong theme here, but walking around and I traveled to my hotel rooms and to work with a CO2 meter. And I'll also note that I'm that guy that drops the pencil first in the meeting. And I would be, trying to keep my eyes open in that small room with coffee in each hand, 2 hands again. And I realized that it correlated with the CO2, that I seem to be sensitive to that. And so being alert became a big deal. And we put CO2 meters in my office, and we brought these meters home. And we didn't have a system where it was automatic, but I would text Bethany and like, hey, the CO2's bad, open up the windows.
I'm sorry, and you're still married now after that? Yeah, okay.
This was when we were living in Active House, and there was all those like skylights, and then he'd get these graphs on his phone that say like the CO2 spiking because like it's mayhem, it's after school, everyone's running around, and then he's like, can you please open the skylights because the CO2 is over 1,000 parts per million. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Okay.
And then I would open them, and then he'd be like, thank you. Because, of course, you can see that the air quality was just, like, it just dropped straight away.
Okay.
Dropped in a good way. Yeah, you could see the CO2.
Okay, so when I was saying with Carla earlier, I mean, it is impacting on a relationship, so I was teasing you, but in a good way. There is a
This
nice...
was our thermostat war.
That's okay. And for you, I mean, so we heard about from Russell's perspective. For you, any particular surprises? Hello, lovely. I'm not going to scare you. No.
I was actually surprised how much I loved it. I kind of went in like, yeah, we'll do it. It looks like fun, but I kind of didn't want to love it in a way.
You didn't? Why so?
Because it would make moving back to a normal house really hard. Which in a way...
And has it been really hard?
It was challenging, also because our house is half the size. But it's like squeezing back into a pair of skinny jeans. And...
Yeah, you got lots of recognition from women. Look at that. Okay.
You guys don't know.
Yeah.
But no, I truly loved the house. I loved everything about it. I loved the design. I loved how stress-free it was in terms of cleaning it. There wasn't as much.
Let's pause there because that was a big deal.
It's a big deal.
A airtight, high-performance house is way easier to clean because there's not near as much dust getting in the house.
Like, it was amazing.
It's often under discussed, but it was a really big deal in our case.
And at first I thought it was going to be terrible because all this bright light, and I don't know, like our winter sun it can show up the smallest bit of dust, and you've cleaned the whole house and it shows up in that sunlight, and I was like, oh my God, this house is going to be just just
And there were
showing
no
up.
moats floating.
There was no moats floating. There was no
No.
dust balls in the
Okay.
corners. Like, it was just
That is
amazing.
something, though. No, good, interesting that you say that, because you're absolutely right. That's interesting and under-discussed. I suppose my last question, because we heard at the start of this about kids as multipliers, so and the value of that, because there is work to be done in spreading the word. You know, the shift is happening, but not everywhere, and there's not a comprehension. And so, are you good multipliers? Are you enthusing your friends at dinner parties or boring your friends at dinner parties? What's the response been?
Which one are you asking?
Ladies first.
I'm
Ladies
very
first.
entertaining.
You're very entertaining. Okay. Sorry. I mean, you're both entertaining. But what's the response then? Do people feel, wow, quand même, I need to think about that for my place where I live or my office?
I do think daylight is something that you can't really understand unless you've experienced it. So talking to a lot of our friends who live in these historical homes, and they don't understand how dark they are until they've seen something different. So while we were in Active House, we actually undertook a renovation in our old home where we opened up to the roof, and I think it's a 30-foot light shaft. And it really has changed the space. Like, anybody walks in and they're like, wow, I didn't expect this place to be so bright. And I'm like, it's because it shouldn't be this bright. Yeah. So I think in a way we are trying to spread the word on how important that is in terms of air quality, and a lot of people, they just don't know. Like, I never even thought about the air quality in my home, but now we've got sensors everywhere, so I'm very aware.
Are you beginning to get a picture of their married life now? It's extraordinary.
Of the air quality.
Great. We are going to see it, by the way. We are going to see it at the end, but I want you to just give that last question for you to answer. How do you find, because you're obviously perhaps a bit geeky. You said you carry something around, you're monitoring, you're pestering her with the window opening. So how have you found the response?
For me, it's been great, because now it's not just the engineer talking to his computer models. Now it's the guy that lived in the house.
Sure.
So it's personal experience.
Yeah.
So I can talk about it with a whole new energy, enthusiasm, and knowledge, because we did live it. And that made the world of difference.
Yeah, absolutely. They say, this whole thing between you hear it, okay, you see it better, you live it. That's what does the business. Thank you so much. Don't go away, because I think we have a video of it. So it'd be good after that teaser to see exactly what this fabulous family lived. So if we could play that would be wonderful. Let's give it a chance. Voila.
We've been living in Active House Centennial Park for 6 months. The Active House standard has 3 main principles: energy, environment, and comfort. My comfort highlight is the fresh air. I sleep better in this house, and I feel better, I'm more alert, and that's because of the air quality.
Being able to either see or hear where the girls are at all times gives them more freedom in their play and allows me to be more productive.
When we have visitors come in the house, one of the first impressions is always the brightness. Now that the season's changing and it's getting colder, you feel the thermal comfort of the space. You can walk past one of those big windows and not feel that chill.
Our time at Active House is coming to an end, and I have to say the response was not great. Lucy, our eldest, I think she's really gonna miss that overall comfort, and Eleanor, she's gonna miss the big spaces, but also the small spaces. Poppy for sure is gonna miss the sofa. I think they all will.
Great Golf has built a really special house here.
That's fabulous. That's just great. Thank you very, very much. That last leap, I thought that was sort of kind of crystallized everything in a way. And clearly, I think there was a lot of joy for you living in that house. So thank you so very much. It's a whistle-stop tour. Have I let you say everything you need to say? Have you been able to? Yeah?
We're good.
You good?
We're good.
Yeah? Okay. Well, please, a round of applause for these fabulous and fabulously creative children here and this lovely family for sharing their experiences with us. Thank you. And don't worry.